you need to start learning how to create two box and whiskers and compare them. So I'm going to give you this worksheet and you need to work it through. I'm going to give you this example. You have two snowboard companies, Middleton and Snowboard Central, and so you want to create a double box and whiskers. That means create one on top of the other to compare them. So you take a look at this Middleton, put them in order. It's already in order, which is good. Remember to split your data in half. That means you got three numbers here and three numbers here. The median is the middle of those two numbers right here. That's the median. So what's in the middle of that? The way you do that, you have to add the two numbers and divide by 2. If you add 356 plus 360 and divide by 2, you end up getting 358. So that's 358. Then quarter 1, Q1, is the middle of the low half. So that's 350. That's the middle of the low half. So that's 350. And then the middle of the upper half is 375. That's the middle number of the upper half. So that's 375. Your minimum is 345 and your maximum is 405. So you should be able to create a box and whiskers from that. Do the same thing with this guy. Split this guy in half. Again, the numbers are in order already, so that's helpful. You got three numbers here and three numbers here. So we split it in half. The median is between these two numbers. So you need to add 386 and 392 and divide it by 2. If you add that and you divide it by 2, I think you get 388. Oh, 389. Yeah, 389. And then if you take the middle of the low half, that's 370. That's Q1. And the middle of the upper half is 395. That's Q3. Your minimum is 343 and your maximum is 402. So now you get to create your box and whiskers from that. So I'm going to create one box and whiskers with red and one with purple just to show you the difference. So let's do Middletown in red. So it says Q1 is 350. That's this. And then Q3 is 375, which is maybe right here. So you create the box between Q1 and Q3. 50% of your data is in that space. Median is 358, so that's probably about here. Your maximum is 405, which is way over here, and then connect it. And your minimum is 345, which is right here, and then connect it. So before we move on, you need to figure out that this half of the box and whiskers is half the numbers. It's 50% of the numbers, right? Because it's this 50% of the numbers. But it looks longer because the data is more spread out. But it doesn't mean you got more numbers there. You still have the same amount of numbers there that you'd have in this section. You still have 50% of the numbers here, right? That's this half right here. There's the same amount of numbers, but this numbers are more, this box is tighter, so the numbers are more condensed, more consistent. So there's not as much spread. That's the word that you want to use, spread. If it's spread out or not, or consistent. So it's very important that you realize that a box and whiskers doesn't show the amount of numbers. It shows the spread of the data, how far apart they're spread out. All right. So then that's that. Let's go ahead and do the snowboard. Let's graph that one on top. So the median there is, sorry, Q1 is 370. So here's Q1. Q3 is 395, which is right here. So we'll just connect that. That's 50% of our data is there. Median is 389, which is basically right about here. Max is 402, which is right here. And minimum is 343, which is pretty close to the other one, right about here. So if you could see here, same thing happens. 50% of the data is up here in this smaller part. So half of the data is higher priced. The other half of the data is very spread out between low price to high price. So now you need to make comparisons between these two box and whisker plots. And the comparisons that you need to make is those that I just said, and you should probably write that down. You should also try to see, about how much more is one over the other. So if I take a look at this part right here, that's 75% of the data is about higher than, this is probably close to 75 going back this way. So you would say something about 75% of Snowboard Central, I'll call it SC, is higher. And you need to say about because it's not exact. About 75% of Snowboard Central is higher than 75% of Middletown snowboards. I'll call that MS. That's one conclusion you could draw. The other conclusion you could draw is, I don't know, like, let's see, we could also look at this part, 50%, right? That's 50%. 50% of Snowboard Central is in the upper quartile of Middleton snowboards, right? Because it's located within the upper part of the other one. So that's what I mean by analyzing and showing me proof. So I'm going to send you this worksheet that I need you to complete, and I'm going to send you a couple of quizzes that you need to do. Answer it and send a picture and send it back to me.